This video brings together all the steps that we've done so far. And what we did was to capture a first screen of inputs. And just as a refresh, what we're doing is building out a lesson with information about the type of lesson, start date, that kind of information, and then creating a junction object that identifies the participants, instructor roles, volunteer role, participant roles related to this lesson. And this is a junction to the contact record. So we're going to see that here as we look at how we build out these records. But important is just to show you, with our goal of creating these records, is to go back to this step. And this was in the second and third videos we built out this. This is where we're capturing information, we're creating a lesson. And what we're doing is capturing screen inputs, which I'll walk you through that. But what we're doing here is capturing a variable called active HS session ID. And so that's going to be important, especially as we look at building these, and you'll see that in a step. So the prior video to this, we built out the instructor dynamic record choice to do a lookup on instructor. This is just a replication of that for volunteer. And this was slightly different because what we did was a screen to pull up last name as an input. And what that allowed us to do is to go out on this record and to do a match on contact record. And if we dive into the edit mode here, what we see is that what we were doing was matching, and again, this is to come up with the participant radio buttons. What we did was to match contact record, create a choice for each contact record where last name contained the participant last name that we entered on the prior screen. And for each of those, we're going to display the name. We're going to limit it to 20, and then we're going to capture the participant ID, the selected participant ID. And so if we look at how that is going to work, we're going to then create a series of records. And I'll show you this one. They're all the same, basically. But what we're doing is to create the junction object for participant and lesson. What we're doing is creating one of the records using the selected participant ID. That was from the, just the screen just before this. The active HS session was from the original creation, and then what we're going to do is to pull in a session role of participant, which is a constant, because we know that we're doing is building out a participant record. We don't need to track on any additional information because this is kind of the end of the process at this point. And then lastly, what we did was to also create a screen that was an output screen. And so if we look at how we add those fields, there's a display text field here that allows you to display text. Imagine that. And so if we're going to run this, and so let's go do a run. And if we say we're going to do this as a test of, so this is a demo 1, and we're going to do it for this. We're going to add it for fall, and we're going to pick up this date stamp, 60 minutes. We could put in numbers of participant, numbers of volumes. That's not really tracked right now, but you can imagine it for looping in a next step. What we're going to do, though, is select an instructor. We're also then going to select a volunteer, and we're also going to select a participant last name, and we're going to say next. That then is going to bring up the selection of participants that had participant in their last name. And again, there's hundreds of these, so this is a way of just pulling in a subset. We're going to create next, and what we end up doing is getting success here. If we jump out and do a refresh on lesson, what we're able to see is that we can bring up the demo, and we have that, and we also have the junction objects created. So it all works. Thanks.